What's up, GERO 200? How are you? Today's Thursday, May 25th, 2023, and so this is going to be the third assignment of your first week of classes for your summer session. And so I had a little delay on this. We had a lot of packing, a lot of things to do, because simultaneously with teaching this class, I'm teaching another class. And that other class, you can see the backdrop has changed, is the Maymaster class that Julie and I both teach. So, and it is our Maymaster class where we go to the blue zone of Costa Rica. It's called Nosara, Costa Rica. Okay, so we are in the throes of that. Luckily, they have pretty good Wi-Fi, so I'm able to do what we're doing here, which is way cool, way cool, way cool. Alrighty, so I'm going to exit my preview here, and let it do its thing. Boom. Okay, and what I want to do is I just want to remind you, move my picture out of the way here temporarily. So I've got my USC t-shirt. No, it's my Surfos t-shirt. All right, that's a surf shop here in Playa Guiones, okay? And what I encourage you always to do when you're doing this class is to open up a second browser or a second window within your browser. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go into this week's assignments. So this assignment right here is 3. So I would go into here, and then to finish the quiz, the easiest thing to do, excuse me, is to come right down here and just open the quiz, okay? Go like this. All right, and okay, you hit begin. Okay, so then all you need to do is, review these 5 questions, and they're very random, okay, of the 20 that we have to offer. And then you have the course open a second time like so, okay? And just kind of show you that what the drill is in here. So if you're ever thinking about taking my class with me, my Maymaster class, I just want to kind of turn it around here. It's kind of bright here, but it'll then hopefully get used to the vision that we have here. So this is me going out into the balcony here. I'm going to probably drop my computer over the balcony, but yeah. So it's if I get my face out of the way, maybe you'll have a little better view. This is the Playa Guiones area right here. It's lush. It's beautiful. It's super cool. So definitely check it out. Come join us next year. But let's get down to business here, okay? And it's time to get down to business. Understand the issue with aging in our country. And before we do that, because we're going to go into each assignment, we're going to get into a lot of depth. We have to pretend like we are the social scientists that are beginning to understand how to study all the different generations in our country. So we'll put you in that position. We're going to make you guys what are called social scientists, demographers, public health officials. This is what we're going to pretend you guys are, okay? So what we're going to do here is we're going to look at these 3 very short articles. I'm going to walk you through the stuff. It's really quite easy. We rely on the Pew Foundation, okay? So as I indicate right here, we're just going to pretend that that you never know, would think about a career as you're studying populations. It's called a demographer, population analysis, or public health type of research. And there's lots of opportunity. There's the Kaiser Family Foundation, the Rand Corporation, the Pew Foundation. You just never know where you're going to end up in life, guys. Alrighty. So when we look at this, 3 tiny articles, I'm going to walk you through it right here. So the first article, okay, is about, hey, how are we going to, as a country, and really as once we kind of set it up as researchers globally, how are we going to be able to talk the same talk, okay? So that when we know a generation, what is the bracket of their age, or the bracket of the time period when they were born? Seems kind of simple, but somebody's got to do it, okay? And so each step of the way, as always, we have a PDF file right here that we copied that reflects this, the articles, or you can go directly into the URL, which is what I like to do, okay, as long as it's working here. And clearly, we have a pretty decent Wi-Fi here at the Nosara Beach Hotel in Playa Pelada, okay? So we have to define the generations, okay? Prior to you, we had millennials, and where does the Gen Z begin? And there was just, there was actually, some controversy what do we call generations? Okay, so this goes into the discussion of how it all came about. Okay, and the analysis of who the millennials are right here, and and it really helps us in terms of looking at the social science, the politics, etc. Okay, so it may seem kind of silly, but one of the ways that the generations were defined, because we weren't sure with your generation, do we call you a post millennial, as we see down here? Do we call you the I generation? But you'll see over time, I'm going to show you the time course of things here. As we went to 2014 all the way into 2019, Generation Z stuck. And so that's what you guys are. You guys are Gen Zers, okay? And so what is a generation? How do we know, where they are? Well, again, social scientists had to come together and agree upon this. And so we see right here, these are my parents, okay, the silent generation, World War II era, baby boomers. I was born in 56. Julia was born in 62 and are your co-instructor, so it's just under the limit right here. Then we have Gen X, okay, your parents or maybe your grandparents, the millennials, okay, and then you guys Gen Z. In fact, you can even ask yourself, what do we call I'm going to get my face out of the way so you can see what I'm doing here. What do we call the generation after Gen Z? I already did this, okay? And there it is. Looks like we're calling the next guys the Gen Alphas, okay? Alrighty, and again, how do we define them? Okay, so the 2010 to 2024s, and then Gen Beta will be the next. Okay, and this is how you study social science, guys. Okay, so that's the drill on that. Okay, pretty straightforward stuff. Okay, alrighty. And this goes into just a little more description about how this is all done, but that's the take-home message on that. Okay, so now we've defined generation. I'm going to get out of the quiz here because I'm not taking the quiz, but you guys are. I'm going to leave that page and go right back into our assignment here. So now we are all on the same page, so I can go to a big conference with you guys, and maybe you're from Spain and somebody else is from Indonesia, and when I say baby boom, or when I say Gen Z, or when I say Gen Alpha, we're all going to be on the same page. That's the bottom line there, okay? Okay, so now let's look at some of the trends. So now what you've got this established, then you can start doing some really cool studies, some analysis about, hey, what's going on with these guys, okay? So this is a 2018 article. We're going to look at 7 demographic, this is population-based analysis, trends based on the sociology of these groups that were shaping the world. Really cool stuff, okay? So we're looking over here. And we'll get into this, okay? And then we'll come over here, okay? So the bottom line, the baby boomers had kids, okay? Those kids were millennials for the most part, or Gen Zers, okay? And then you have maybe even if you have only 2 kids, okay? We heard that fertility is kind of down. You're still going to get, in terms of raw numbers, a bigger group of people, right? So millennials are projected to outnumber the baby boomers in this article. It was written in 2018 by 2019, okay? So it's the number of kids that the boomers had, and sadly, people don't live forever, so boomers start dying off, okay? So the raw numbers, okay, the percent of the total population, the millennials begin to take over, okay? That's what that's all about right there, okay? What else is happening, okay? So life has gotten a lot more competitive, a lot more complicated. People need to be trained longer to get good jobs, to be able to afford to live on their own. And ultimately, what we're seeing is multi-generation households are ticking upward. Okay, we're always looking backward. We're looking at data. This is an article again that was written in 2018. All right. So the last time they gathered their data was in 2016. I guarantee you that the trends have continued to move upward. And we're looking at the percent of populations living in these multi-gen houses. And this is you guys, I'm sure you guys are graduating from college, you're 22 years of age, you go home and you really can't afford to buy a home, you may be looking for a job. The job market actually is really tight right now. So, you know what, it's all good. You get to live in a multi-generational home until you become financially independent. And there's a lot of good in this too, because now you can help your your parents and your grandparents in terms of the family collective, in terms of managing things like their well-being, just all the different household expenses, all the different household duties, and some of the caregiving that you might do with your grandparents. Okay, and these again are the raw numbers in millions of people in the United States that are now living in multi-gen houses. That's 64 million people out of roughly 220 million people. So it's a big number. Okay. All right. So we're all in agreement upon that. That's a huge trend. What else is happening? Okay. Marriage was a thing with my parents. Marriage was a thing with my generation. But guess what's happening? Okay. The institution of marriage continues to drop. So for the millennials and especially for the Gen Zs, people are not getting married as often. Okay, so this is just again a social science trend that is very, very dependent on the generations, and we'll look at that in a second. All right, so mother and family are slightly ticking up, and that could be a part of cultural thing. We have a little bit more immigration, different cultural differences, and you can kind of look at that. This is the different populations of immigrants that are knocking on our doors, trying to get into our country, and it's always a reflection of where the most political strife is. Okay, so we see here these were from 2010 to 2017. Again, looking backward, looking at the data, and the majority of immigrants were coming from Syria because Syria had really ungodly, horrible civil war that was ongoing. Okay, we see that the religious affiliation changes at all determines on what is the majority group, but also it's very political. So the different administrations that are in either holding Congress, the Senate, or the presidency, they politicize who is going to be more likely to be accepted to be an immigrant than others. Okay, we do see a big, or increased arrivals of people from international countries. So that's a really cool article there. So again, not very long, kind of fun to check out. Okay, and then the final one right here, the article is a true comparison right here of what's going on here. So this is like, I'll show you how this works, 2017 data, and then we're going to define when they were younger, and you'll see some transitions, and you get to play with this graphic and go through the different trends we see right here. You're going to be comparing the populations as we already defined them. Okay, so let's go here. Let's check this out, guys. Here's a PDF file. If you can't get it to work, the PDF file is not interactive, my friends. Okay. Alrighty, so let's look at 7 demographic trends that are shaping the U.S. and the world. Okay. All right, actually, I just did that one. Sorry, I wasn't thinking. All right, let's go back. Okay, this figure right here is for this link right there. I apologize. All right, here we go. There. We're going to compare each of our generations in terms of what was going on in prior generations. How has society changed? And that's what this is all about right here. All righty, so you can go through these graphics. Okay. So it's a kind of a fun interactive. We can look at each of these generations, millennials, Gen Xers, baby boomers, silent. Sorry guys, we did not have this information for Gen Zs because many of you have not achieved college education yet. You're not married, but so it's kind of a wash to put you guys in there. Okay, we can look at that time point in 2017, or we can look at the generations when they were 21 to 36 years of age. Now, some of these people are going to be already 21 to 36, so you're not going to see big changes, like we see here, okay? But we see big changes down here, transitions, okay, to where these groups that were born, for example, the silence in 1965 versus here, and we go back and forth, okay? Awesome, awesome. All right, and so what we see is, if we're looking at race and ethnicity, that white people live longer. Okay, so we can go back and forth when they were young, the percentage of population, versus when they're older. Okay, so all right, cool. Marital status, you can look at that. Okay, 2017, when they were younger. Okay, not much of a change in millennials. Okay, not many married either. Okay, we talked about that. Okay, But we see big changes right here, okay, in terms of how many were married compared to when they were younger. That's when they were younger. And what's happening here? Less people married. What do you see down here? People are widowed, okay? So that's what you see right there. In the oldest generation, when they were younger, they were married, and they were widowed. We can look at, I think this is really interesting right here. We can look at female education and how that has transitioned, okay? Um, and we see that the younger age group, and if we looked at you guys, it would be even more. We see right here, many more millennial women have bachelor's degrees, okay? Far fewer in the prior generations, high school diplomas, high school incomplete, and then we can just kind of go back here. So this one we can see when they're younger, okay? And we go back and forth, okay? So people do improve upon themselves as they age, and that's what that's showing right there, as we're bouncing back and forth between how they were setting in 2017 and what it looks like when they're 2000 and when they were 21 to 36 years of age, okay? So that's how you play with that. So check it out. Just jump around here. You know, no big surprise, veteran status, okay? Yeah, my parents, World War II, you know, Korean War, all that stuff. So there are a lot of veterans. Yeah, who lives in the cities? That's what that is right there. That's what Metro said. Are you urban or are you rural? Okay. Okay. So this is just so we play with it, and then this reiterates it in terms of the text, and then we have a couple of figures that highlight what's going on. So millennials, okay, are more educated than previous generations. Okay, so we look at silent generation, we can look at boomers, we can look at Gen X's, we can look at millennials. Okay, and what do you see here? Yes, people are males in the United States are getting more and more educated, but what I really love to show you right here is more and more women are educated. In fact, on a percentile basis, the millennials more college educated women than men. Okay, so it's really kind of interesting. Okay, and the same was probably said for you guys as well. Okay, so this goes through it all here. So we see that millennial women have a greater percentage of bachelor's degree than their male counterparts, and that kind of reversed the trend that we see right here in the silent generation. The trend that was already showing the transition here in my generation, then the Gen X's, and then we see right here the millennials. Okay, so there are social forces driving this. Okay, okay, so we see. A big part of the social force is people get educated, they work. Women are working. Women are independent. Okay, women. Far fewer people are getting married. A lot more women are living single or having children on their own. And so this is why we're seeing these transitions, okay? And it's a generational based thing, okay? We see millennials are much more likely to have a diversity in terms of racial and ethnic minorities making up that population compared to prior generations. So we've had different ways of immigration, okay? Just like my generation, not me, my grandparents' generation, they came in here right at the turn of from the 19th to the 20th century. That was the when everything had just gone so south in Ireland, and just like we saw in Syria and the other figure, people from Ireland were coming in just waves. Okay, and so we're getting a diversity in cultures that are coming in. Okay, my dad's generation, my mom's generation, were 10 times more likely to be veterans because, again, of World War II and the Korean War. Okay, what's happened is, and I saw this in Julia's family when I first met her. They had a family farm in southern Illinois. It had been in the family for almost 200 years, and then her grandfather had 4 kids. All 4 kids went off to college. And one of them didn't, but 3 went off to college. 1 then got married, but they left the country and went out to the big city to make their big splash and never returned. And so ultimately, then the family farm had to be sold. Corporate farms took it over, and so this is this kind of social science change that's happening all across our country. So it's pretty cool to be able to look at that and study all that. So now you know, understand this framework of how we study people. And we're going to do this, for example, we'll be looking at things like cancer and Alzheimer's disease and looking at these trends and how they impact health as well. Okay, so here's something that hits right at home for you guys. Okay, and how am I gonna be able to afford to live? How is this affecting each generation? Okay, and the cost of housing goes up and up and up, and things like your salary are not matching. So we're seeing this right here. Okay, so this is data that's again looking backward to 2019. Look at the percentage of baby boomers that owned households going from 1990 to 2019. Okay, so there's over a 19-year period, and we've sent from 30 to almost 50%. Okay, Gen X, that could be our children right here. Okay, from 1992 to 2019, approaching 30%. So there's a loss. Okay, costs too much money to buy into. We're starting getting more multi-gen. And you see the poor millennials, okay, from 2008 right here to 2019, such a small percentage in 2019 had home ownership. So we're talking right here, roughly 6%. Okay, that's a big deal, and that's something really to think about because it's the American dream, and this is the baton that we're passing you guys. How are you going to be able to deal with this? Okay. So this is something in your discussion in terms of generations of housing. Are you willing to be living in a generation household? How long? Okay. Are you willing to consider combining your resources and forming family collectives? Okay. I want you to talk about that. Okay. Think about tax incentives that might come up to help with housing. Okay. So these are all things to think about when you look at this article. So you go ahead and open this article and you check it out. There may be a paywall on this, okay? So we have a paid PDF, actually a Word doc that we created for this, okay? Alrighty, very cool, okay? So then we come here and this is like the shock and awe of this, okay? This is 2022 housing market, okay? And we're looking at here housing affordability index. So this is something that people that were studying this part of population analysis, demographics, they came up with this, okay? And then we see year to year, this talking about changes in prices, okay? So this was the equity that the owner of the home has, but then it's also the change in price for somebody that's trying to get in for the first time, okay? And so in California, okay, we see that going from 2021 to 2022, the housing affordability index, okay, has dropped. Okay, so we went from 23% to 16% of people can afford to purchase a home that would be in the market in 2022. We look right here again in California. This is the median. So if we wrapped up every house that's for sale in the state of California, and we looked at the middle, and that middle house may not even be the greatest house, okay? May not even be the greatest community. The median price is approaching $900,000, and by 2023, it's even more, okay? We can expect an increase in value, an 8% increase in housing values, just through economic projections, and that's how much it's going to run away from every year. To be able to afford the minimum income that you would have, where you would just be house poor and couldn't do anything, is about $200,000 a year. Okay, and you see that just keeps going up and up and up and up. So this kind of puts it all in perspective, and we want you to think about it. This older adults, okay, have a huge issue in terms of affording housing. If you didn't make it in life, so to speak, financially, how do you afford rent even? Okay, that's a whole different game. Okay, so this was a study done in Harvard in 2019. If you're interested in this, maybe you're going to get into real estate someday, the business side, real estate development. It's kind of a shock and awe. It's a really long set of studies. You can access this really long paper that we provided the link to. You go in here, it's very interactive if you're interested in the housing issue worldwide. So this is America's housing for older adults. And we're going to reflect on this later on, but if you haven't seen the movie Nomadland, you should see it. And a study came out recently that the number of people over the age of 65 in our country that are homeless, okay, or unhoused, is approaching 250,000 people, okay? And it's really, really sad because you're the most vulnerable populations in terms of health. Anyway, so these are, again, another index taken from that Harvard page I was talking about. You're looking at retirement age households facing cost burdens, okay, um, in terms of their housing. And you see that it just goes up and up and up and up and up. It never goes down, okay? And we see this is obviously if you fully own your house, you don't pay mortgage, there's not as much of a cost burden, right? But if you're still paying your mortgage, that's something that you have to pay out and not be able to pay for other things. And we see renters is going up and up and up here. That's what that is right here, okay? Um, and then the number of older Americans living alone, again, in terms of housing, okay? And we see, again, this transition from 2018 projection to 2038. And we see that a lot of older people are going to be living on this picture, the oldest people 80 and over. And we see, again, this transition by age group, looking at from 2018 to the projection of 2038. Whether you're 50 to 54, 75 to 79, you're here, all right? So go ahead, look at these questions, post your answers and your discussion. We really look forward to it. And my friends, that is it from my lecture today from Nosara. Peace, and I'll be coming back at you. We'll be doing posting all new lectures for next week's lecture here in a couple of days. And it's very doable, and I look forward to our interaction with you guys, and take care. Peace.